You've got to be kidding.
It's Hey y'all, it's your girl Justine Gray, and welcome to my channel where I give you guys the cheat code on leveling up in life because life is a game. You're just not playing it right. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about how to avoid fake friends and save your energy and boost your level. Okay? And this is so important because the people that you're around is so detrimental to your destiny. They can either contribute or they can take away from what you're doing in your life for yourself. And sometimes people come in close for the wrong reasons, okay? Sometimes people are around you because they're attracted to what you have and they want it for themselves. You see this in life when there is a woman or person who is beautiful, they are wealthy or successful, and someone else comes in. This could be a friend, a loved one. They can come in as a business partner. They can come in as even a boyfriend or like a spouse. But mainly, we're talking about friends. So they come in as a friend and they like what you have and they want it for themselves. So they'll put themselves in close proximity to you and you'll kind of notice that this person isn't really like for you because they'll be giving you advice that they wouldn't really genuinely take. They'll tell you to date people that they know aren't really like in alignment with you and your goals. Like, oh yeah, girl, maybe your standards are too high. Maybe you should date him. Maybe it's okay dating him, even though he ain't got no car, girl, go date him. Knowing that they wouldn't do that for themselves. Or they could be quietly setting themselves up to compete with you. I had this happen to me where I had a business partner and she was always comparing herself to me when others came around and she would be like, "Oh no, I'm not like Jeannie. I'm not friendly like her and I'm not like this." And she would be comparing our body types and she would be throwing out weird allegations around about me when men came around. But then like slowly but surely she started to mimic and copy things that were authentic to me. Like one day she showed up to my house and she had the same hairstyle as me. And then a few days later, we hung out, and now she got on the same blouse that I just did a photo shoot in. So she just started like slowly but surely, like either mimicking me or trying to put herself into some type of weird competition with me. And it didn't work because I eventually ended up shutting it down and removing removing access to myself from her. So they'll do that, or they'll also pin someone else against you. And I've had this happen to me too, where I had a associate friend of me who knew she couldn't really like her energy couldn't come up against me as herself. She couldn't come up against me or compete with me alone. So she ended up bringing in her cousin who I notoriously had like this disliking to. We didn't like each other. Like she invited her to her birthday party one day, knowing we didn't like each other, but it was just really just to kind of throw me off my square because she just felt like I was untouchable and unstoppable. And they'll do stuff like that, or they'll, first they'll do small things like copying you, but really they're getting ready to position themselves to sleep with your partner. Like, so This just brings me back to the 48 power of law, which is law number 2, which is to never put too much trust in your friends and learn how to use your enemy. This law is so essential because if you put too much trust in a friend, they could be learning you as an enemy and you may not know. So you have to remember this law and to remember that proximity doesn't always mean connection. It just gives people a chance to understand and learn and maybe use your blind side against you. So part of my cheat code is to assign trust points, and you want to be using discernment when you are developing relationships with people, so that way you are not being blindsided by fake titles such as friend or cousin or roommate or manager or business partner, and you want to convert all threats into non threats by disarming them, by removing proximity and shielding yourself from their energy before it becomes fatal or deadly or a non ideal situation in your favor. Because when someone is jealous or envious of you, it is no telling to what they'll do and how much of you they're willing to compromise to get what you have. So that might just be taking your job, that might be taking your man, but that also could be taking your life. So you have to be very cautious and um very protective of yourself and your energy when you assign people roles in your life. And when you're developing relationships with people, you have to use discernment and have a clear judgment of who you are and who you're up against. And to always give yourself space and time to learn people and learn how the dynamic is treating and making you. People always expose themselves through time, but sometimes we choose to ignore these red flags because we feel like we love somebody, we feel like we like them, or we feel like we have so much in common with them. But really, deep down inside, we don't have that much in common with them, because the thing they want the most, the thing that they want the most, you have, they'll never possess, which is inside of you. And they know that. And it's because they can't have it, they people will become ugly, and it's your job in life to shield yourself. It's your job in life to disarm threats. Life is the game of survival of the fittest. You can't survive attacks that you're not aware of, and you should never put too much trust into anyone that's not yourself. Um, we see that in the movie Single White Female. When the girl, she came in, she was the cool roommate, and at first it was her hairstyle she was mimicking, and then next thing you know, she slept with her boyfriend. So it's the little small red flags that we tend to ignore that could become a serious situation for us later on. And in the movie Players Club, we see how Diamond was able to scan her environment and understand her place in the club and understand that she didn't want to associate herself too much with Ronnie and Trixie, and she was able to use she was able to leverage their ambitions to maintain herself while she was in that environment and keep herself safe. However, the situation with her cousin Ebony was a little bit more trickier for her to evade because Diamond felt like she was a mentor figure to her cousin. She knew her cousin looks up to her. And, because her cousin was coming in up out of the street, she really didn't have a place to go. And to her cousin, Diamond was somebody who had made it in the club, and she navigated the club, very savvy. And that admiration that Ebony had for Diamond eventually turned to envy, because you could see throughout the movie that Ebony was envious of Diamond control, her financial stability, her allure, and her position in the club. And that's shown in throughout the movie when you see her hanging out with Trixie and Ronnie, even though she advises her not to. And then eventually she goes so far as to sleeping with Diamond's boyfriend. And that was like the ultimate betrayal for for the whole movie. And the plot line, we see Diamond cousin Ebony sleeps with her man. But Diamond was really, really good about being strategically aware. That's how she survived in the club. That's how she was able to um help her cousin when her cousin ended up in a situation where she was in trouble at Junior's bachelor party. Unlike single white female, Player Club had more subtle. The threat is more subtle and ongoing than the betrayal. In single white female, she really played it crazy. It was starting off as her just, being an ally, somebody that she could talk to. Then that trust really like got misplaced because Heidi really was a covert enemy, and she really wanted her life, and she just was a friend in disguise, suffering from stuff going on mentally. And it just, that movie right there, just alone depicts that friends are not always safe. Trust can be weaponized against you. And if you don't assign trust points to people and convert threats and use your awareness strategically by shielding yourself from potential threats, people who don't like you, you could end up in a situation that's deadly, or somebody you love could end up in a situation that's deadly. And that kind of also bring me up to talking about Shaquilla Robinson and her story, how she went on vacation with people that was her friend. They fought her, beat her up, and then she ended up unalived. Those people were never her friends. And if we had more intel on their actual friendship dynamic, we probably would be able to know and understand that those girls that she went on the trip with probably already had displayed red flags within their relationship. She might have not just been aware of the red flags. They might have not been so obvious to her. And she ended up paying the cost with her life, may her soul rest in peace. And that similar situation was shown with the Mexican model Valerie, that was unalived on TikTok Live. And it was speculating that her friend had something to do with her being targeted. And that wasn't surprising to me because I've had multiple situations on my level up journey where people who were close to me didn't like how I was transcending and elevating so fast, or they didn't like the fact that, because I was a single mom, or maybe they weren't, I was getting more attention, getting more resources allocated to me than they were, and that made them feel some type of way because, according to society, single moms aren't desirable, but I am very desirable. And so when I decided to date, I was very successful with dating, and it bothered and triggered a lot of women that were around me because they were so used to me being in a certain situation where they felt like they had the upper hand, and me dating and putting myself on a similar level in the dating world as them exposed stuff in them that they lacked, and it made them feel types of ways towards me that wasn't safe and secure for my well-being. I like genuinely had women put my life at risk because they didn't like the attention that I got. They didn't like the men were highly attracted to me. They didn't like that men were generous to me when we dated and when we were in relationships, and they didn't want me to have it, and because they couldn't go out and get it for themselves because they didn't know how, or they didn't have the skills that I possess as a woman, they decided that it would be better for me to not exist than them to have me be a mirror of what they lack. So it's so important for you during this level up journey and in life in general to avoid fake people, fake friends, fake family, people that don't want to see you win, because they will come around and they will put monkey wrenches into your plans. They will try to sabotage you. They will give you terrible advice, guys, this guidance. They won't show up for you when it matters the most or when you feel like it matters the most. And there's always clues and signs, red flags. They're always there, but sometimes we're not using our discernment or our better judgment with dealing with people that we call friends and loved ones. And sometimes we suffer the consequences of that. So my level up cheat code for avoiding fake friends is to scan your environment, know who you're around, know where you're at, assign trust points to people. I don't care how long you've been around them. I don't care how long y'all been friends. I don't care the relationship title. Use your discernment. Okay. Be strategically aware and convert threats from competition to avoid betrayal. Shield yourself, protect yourself. Proximity does not always mean connection. It just means that person has more of a leverage or more of a means to provide you with harm. Doesn't mean that they are, but they have more access to you and they're more capable of hurting you than somebody that is at a further distance than them. So shield yourself and remember, like, when leveling up, it's probably done best alone. That everybody around you posing as a friend ain't always really your friend. Some people come around you to get what you got, and they will go to all means to have what you possess, even if that means taking your life, setting you up, sleeping with your boyfriend, stealing your job. Life is a game, and all is fair in love and war.
Why? You know what? The only reason why it hurts so much is because I thought you was my family. I thought you loved me. But I guess